It's Christmas night in Odessa, Texas. The city, usually filled with the hum of daily life, is now calm, resting under the starry sky. People are enjoying their holiday moments, wrapping up family dinners, exchanging gifts, and getting ready to settle in for the night. For many, Christmas is a time of joy, togetherness, and reflection, a brief pause to celebrate and cherish loved ones. The streets are mostly empty as most people are either at home with their families or heading to their final destinations for the day. The soft glow of Christmas lights adorns houses, and the faint sound of Christmas music still echoes from some homes. It's a peaceful scene, one where the world feels a little slower, a little safer, and a lot more hopeful. But little did anyone know, in the quiet of that Christmas night, tragedy was about to unfold, a tragedy that would not only shatter the calm of the holiday season, but also alter the lives of two families forever. The unassuming nature of this night would be the calm before the storm. Just like any other evening, no one could have predicted that it would soon turn into a nightmare, one that would make headlines across the town and leave an indelible mark on the community. It is often in those moments, when life feels most peaceful, that the unexpected happens. The events that would soon unfold would not only take the life of one beloved individual, but also change the course of a young driver's life forever. What was supposed to be a quiet night of holiday cheer turned into a devastating crash that no one could have seen coming. As we dive deeper into this tragic event, we'll explore the details of what happened that Christmas night, how it unfolded, and the impact it left on everyone involved. But before we get into the details, take a moment to reflect. How often do we find ourselves in the safety of our routine, believing everything is fine, only for something to remind us just how fragile life truly is? Before we continue, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Real Crime Saga. Hit that notification bell so you won't miss any future stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Now, stay with us, because this is just the beginning of a story that will shake you to the core. It's 11:15 p.m. on December 25th, 2025, Christmas night in Odessa, Texas. The holiday celebrations have slowed down, and the streets are quiet, with only the occasional vehicle passing through. In a Chevrolet Silverado, a 19-year-old driver is heading west along the Interstate 20 service road. He's just another young man, navigating the empty road, likely on his way home after a long day of festivities. The excitement of Christmas is fading, and now the streets are calm. The road ahead seems uneventful, but in the quiet, life is about to change forever. The young driver has no idea that this seemingly ordinary night will mark the turning point of his life. His attention is split. Maybe he's tired from the day's events, or maybe his thoughts are elsewhere. Regardless of the cause, he approaches an intersection without the awareness of the crucial stop sign ahead, an intersection that will soon become the scene of a deadly collision. At that very same moment, 76-year-old William Jackson Trantham is driving his Ford Maverick, heading north on Moss Avenue. The road ahead is familiar to him. It's a route he's traveled many times before, perhaps taking him home after a quiet evening spent with loved ones or a simple holiday dinner. Like many older drivers, Trantham is cautious, but he's confident in his ability to navigate the streets. He has no reason to believe that anything out of the ordinary is about to happen. It's just another peaceful night, or so it seems. What neither of them knows is that fate has already set its course. As Trantham approaches the intersection, the young driver of the Silverado is still heading west on the service road, unaware that his lack of attention, his failure to stop at that crucial sign, will lead to a catastrophic moment. The crash that is about to unfold will alter their lives in a matter of seconds. The Silverado runs the stop sign at the intersection, crashing into Trantham's Ford Maverick with violent force. The sound of metal tearing through the night is deafening, shattering the quiet calm that had hung over the city just moments before. In that brief, terrifying moment, Trantham's life is taken, and the young driver's world is forever changed. What was once a peaceful drive home for both men has now become a tragic, irreversible event. Neither driver could have seen it coming. It's a moment defined by a split-second decision, a moment of inattention that would lead to loss and consequences neither of them could have ever imagined. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the aftermath of this tragic crash, as the lives of both families are forever altered in ways they never anticipated. As the young driver continued westward along the Interstate 20 service road, the intersection with Moss Avenue loomed ahead. The lights of the city were distant, and the streets were mostly deserted. It should have been just another routine drive, but it was far from that. The driver, perhaps distracted or fatigued from the holiday celebrations, approached the stop sign at the intersection. He did not see it, or perhaps he did but failed to react in time. In that moment, his decision, or a lack of decision, would change everything. The Silverado, a large and heavy truck, hurtled toward the intersection without slowing down. There was no braking, no attempt to avoid what was about to happen. The young driver simply drove straight through, his focus seemingly elsewhere. On the other side of the intersection, 76-year-old William Jackson Trantham was making his way north on Moss Avenue. His mind likely at ease, thinking about the end of his Christmas night, he was cruising down a familiar stretch of road. He had no reason to believe that anything was wrong. He didn't see the Silverado coming, not until it was too late. The young driver failed to stop at the stop sign, and within seconds, the Silverado crashed into Trantham's vehicle with deadly force. The sound of metal colliding, the screeching of tires, and the crash itself was so intense, it could be heard echoing down the empty streets. The impact was catastrophic, the kind of crash that in an instant shatters the calm of the evening and changes everything. Despite both drivers wearing their seatbelts, the force of the collision was too much. The Silverado struck Trantham's Ford Maverick head-on, sending it spinning violently out of control. The front of Trantham's vehicle crumpled, the airbags deployed, and everything inside the car was violently disrupted. The impact left no room for survival. Trantham, at 76 years old, had lived a long life, but in this moment he had no chance. The collision, though swift, was unforgiving, and the older man's body was unable to withstand the force of the crash. He was pronounced dead at the scene, a victim of a tragic series of events that no one could have anticipated. The young driver, meanwhile, was left in shock, his mind racing as he tried to process what had just happened. His hands shook as he looked at the wreckage before him. In a matter of seconds, his entire life had changed. The calm of the Christmas night had given way to a scene of devastation. And it was all because of one moment of inattention. What was supposed to be a normal drive home turned into a night of tragedy. And as the reality of the situation set in, the consequences of that fateful decision began to unfold, not just for the young driver, but for the family of William Jackson Trantham, whose lives would never be the same again. Stay with us as we dive deeper into the aftermath of this collision, a story of loss, consequences, and the heavy burden of a momentary mistake. The screeching of tires and the deafening crash still echoed in the night air when the first sirens were heard. Emergency responders, their lights flashing through the darkness, raced toward the scene of the collision. Odessa's emergency services were quick to arrive, their training and experience kicking in as they assessed the wreckage in front of them. But as they made their way to the mangled remains of the vehicles, it was already clear the damage was too severe. Trantham's Ford Maverick had been crushed beyond recognition, the front end completely obliterated by the force of the impact. The airbags had deployed, but the severity of the crash left little hope for survival. Despite the best efforts of the paramedics who rushed to the scene, it was too late. William Jackson Trantham, the 76-year-old man who had been making his way home on that quiet Christmas night, was pronounced dead at the scene. In an instant, his life was cut short. A father, a grandfather, gone in a moment. His family would never get to say goodbye, and the holiday that should have been a peaceful time of celebration would instead mark the beginning of their grief. Meanwhile, the 19-year-old driver of the Chevrolet Silverado remained at the scene, visibly shaken by the horror of what had just transpired. He stood there, frozen in disbelief, unable to process the magnitude of what had just occurred. His truck, though still operable, was severely damaged, a testament to the violence of the crash. He had been the one to drive through the stop sign, the one responsible for the collision. But in that moment, it seemed as though time had slowed for him, his mind racing as the reality of the situation began to set in. The young man knew that everything had changed. His heart raced, his body trembled, and he struggled to understand how it had come to this. He had never imagined that a simple failure to stop could lead to the loss of life, to so much pain, and to consequences that would forever shape his future. As the paramedics continued their efforts on the scene, the police began their investigation. Officers cordoned off the area, speaking to witnesses, gathering evidence, and trying to piece together the details of what had led to the crash. They began to examine the vehicles, the marks on the road, and the stop sign that had been ignored. The 19-year-old driver, though clearly in shock, was questioned by police. The questions must have felt like an eternity, a barrage of inquiries that would only further confirm his worst fears. The cause of the crash was clear: the failure to stop at the stop sign. But what had led to that moment? Was it distraction, fatigue, or simply a lapse in judgment? The police would continue to investigate, trying to piece together the details of that fateful night, but the answers wouldn't bring back the life lost. The investigation was just beginning, but for the family of William Jackson Trantham, it was too late. Their loved one was gone, and there would be no explanation that could undo the devastation. For the young driver, the night had turned from a quiet holiday drive to a life-altering tragedy. What started as a simple mistake now felt like an unbearable weight. His mind raced with guilt, confusion, and fear as he realized that nothing would ever be the same again. Stay with us as we continue to explore the impact of this crash and how a single moment can change everything for both the victims and the ones responsible. In the wake of the fatal crash, the Texas Department of Public Safety, DPS, quickly launched an investigation into the events that led to the tragic collision. As officers secured the scene and gathered evidence, it became clear that the 19-year-old driver had failed to stop at the stop sign on Moss Avenue. This initial finding, though straightforward, raised many more questions that would take time to answer. The immediate facts were clear. The young driver had disregarded a traffic signal, which had led to the deadly crash. The stop sign was there for a reason: to prevent accidents and protect drivers. Yet, the failure to obey it had resulted in the loss of a life. While that alone pointed to the cause of the collision, the circumstances surrounding why the driver had made that fateful decision were not so simple. Was it a mere lapse in judgment, a momentary mistake that any of us might make? Was the young driver simply not paying attention, distracted by something, or maybe even fatigued after the long day of Christmas celebrations? The officers investigating the crash began to piece together what had happened in the moments leading up to the crash, but the answers remained unclear. Was there more to this than a simple failure to stop? Fatigue was one possibility. The holiday season is often filled with long days and late nights, and perhaps the young driver had been feeling the effects of exhaustion. Did the exhaustion cloud his judgment, making him overlook the stop sign in a moment of tiredness? With no clear explanation for his failure to stop, the investigators would need to consider every possibility. Distraction was another avenue of inquiry. It's easy to become distracted while driving, especially when there's a lot on your mind. Perhaps the driver's thoughts were elsewhere, maybe even still consumed by the events of the day. Could something, a phone call, a text, or simply a passing thought, have distracted him from paying attention to the road and the traffic signs? The investigators would need to carefully examine his phone records, the vehicle's black box, if available, and any other clues that could shed light on the cause. At the same time, questions of accountability loomed large. What led to this moment? Was this the driver's first mistake, or did it reflect a pattern of poor decision-making? As investigators combed through his driving history, they hoped to find some answers. Was this a tragic one-time mistake, or was there something deeper at play? The investigation would take time, with authorities needing to gather witness statements, check surveillance footage from nearby cameras, and continue their review of the crash site. The goal was not only to determine what happened, but to understand why it happened. They needed to answer the critical questions that had been raised. How had this crash, this life-shattering moment, come to pass? For the family of William Jackson Trantham, the investigation would provide no comfort. No matter what the cause, no matter what the answer, it would not bring back the man they had lost. However, understanding the circumstances surrounding his death could at least offer some semblance of closure, even if it couldn't heal their grief. For the young driver, the investigation into his actions would only make the consequences of that moment even more real. What had started as a quiet, ordinary night had escalated into a tragedy that would now define his future. The weight of that single decision would linger over him as the investigation continued. Stay with us as we delve into the aftermath for both families, as they each try to make sense of the events that forever changed their lives. What was meant to be a quiet Christmas evening became a nightmare for the family of William Jackson Trantham. What should have been a time of joy, warmth, and togetherness quickly turned into an agonizing ordeal that would change their lives forever. As they prepared for a peaceful evening, nothing could have prepared them for the devastating news that their beloved father, grandfather, and friend would never come home. The holiday season, usually filled with laughter and love, was now overshadowed by grief and loss. For Trantham's family, the pain of his sudden death was immeasurable. He had been a cherished figure in their lives, someone who had witnessed the highs and lows of their journeys, offering wisdom, love, and care. The thought that his life had been taken so abruptly, without warning, was a cruel blow. And worse still, the circumstances surrounding his death, a failure to stop at a simple stop sign, made it all the more difficult to process. There were no words to describe the anguish, the endless what-ifs that ran through their minds, as they struggled to understand how something so preventable could take someone they loved so dearly. The holidays would never be the same. Instead of gathering around the dinner table, they would now have to face an empty chair. Instead of celebrating together, they were left to mourn. There would be no more holiday cheer, no more shared moments with William. His absence was a constant, painful reminder of the fragility of life, of how one moment, one decision, could shatter everything. But while the Trantham family faced the heartache of losing a loved one, the 19-year-old driver who had caused the crash was now forced to face the consequences of that single, fatal mistake. His life, too, had been irrevocably changed. What had started as a typical night of driving after Christmas celebrations had turned into a devastating crash that would define his future. The legal ramifications of his actions were now a reality. He faced charges, potential jail time, and a future forever marked by the tragedy he had caused. Yet, the legal consequences, though significant, didn't erase the questions that lingered for both families. Was it just a lapse in judgment? Or was there more at play that led to the crash? Was it fatigue, distraction, or something else? The answers might come through the investigation, but no legal outcome could ever bring back the life lost. The family of William Jackson Trantham would have to live with the grief of losing someone so precious, while the young driver would live with the knowledge that his actions had forever altered the course of someone else's life. For both families, the ripple effects of that Christmas night will be felt for years to come. The loss for the Trantham family was immeasurable, and the burden of guilt for the young driver would weigh heavily on him. As both families tried to navigate this painful new reality, they were left to grapple with the long-lasting effects of a single, tragic event that no one could have seen coming. Stay with us as we close this chapter of loss and reflection, understanding how one moment, one decision, can change everything for everyone involved. In the end, a simple failure to stop at a stop sign led to a devastating collision that took the life of 76-year-old William Jackson Trantham. In the blink of an eye, a moment of inattention, a lapse in judgment shattered the lives of two families. What could have been an ordinary, uneventful Christmas night became a tragedy that no one could have predicted. This incident is a stark reminder of how fragile life can be, how quickly things can change in a single, careless moment. A stop sign, something so small and often overlooked, became the dividing line between normalcy and catastrophe. For the family of William Jackson Trantham, their world will never be the same. The man they loved, who had shared countless moments with them, was suddenly gone, leaving a void that no amount of time can fill. For the young driver, his life is now forever marked by this tragic mistake. One failure to stop has left him with a lifetime of consequences, both legally and emotionally. The impact of that decision will echo throughout his life, a heavy burden that he will carry with him forever. What was once a quiet drive home after Christmas celebrations is now the defining moment of his existence, a night that will haunt him for as long as he lives. The reality is that life can change in an instant. We often take for granted the seemingly small decisions we make every day. But as we see in this story, those small decisions can lead to outcomes far beyond what we ever expect. One moment of distraction, one lapse in attention, and lives are altered forever. It's a harsh lesson, but one that we all must face. The consequences of our actions can ripple through the lives of others in ways we can't always foresee.